Do you guys want to, before we talk about Scream, I just real quick, I want to kind of honor Debra Hill because Debra Hill is just such a big part of the Halloween franchise. And the reason I'm mentioning her is because it's been 20 years since Debra Hill passed, which freaking blows my mind. Like, time flies way too fast. But I think Debra Hill's just as important in terms of Halloween, the first Halloween, as John Carpenter was, because John Carpenter did all that, the evil, sinister Michael Myers type stuff, Loomis and all that. But I think to offset that, to lighten things up a little bit, here comes Debra Hill writing the dialogue for Laurie, Annie, and Linda, about just leaving school and hooking up with Paul and all that stuff. So it was just, I don't know, it was just a nice, like, happy medium. And then she really was in the trenches. She's the one that holds the knife. That's an iconic scene in that very opening scene. So I don't know. Do you guys have you guys watched like 25 Years of Terror? I'm sure you have. And I think that's the first time I actually, I guess saw Debra Hill, even like knew of Debra Hill, because I think this came out in what was it? I think it was around 2000 is when 25 Years of Terror came out, somewhere around there. And I didn't know all the history of Halloween like I do now. And I think that documentary really kind of schooled me up on it. But Debra Hill is one thing that really, for some reason, just stuck out to me because she was just so lively and talking about her time with the franchise. Do you guys have any kind of Debra Hill little nuggets that you kind of remember?
I mean, not necessarily nuggets. Obviously, I always think back to 25 Years of Terror as well. That was kind of like my introduction to her too. You always heard about her, but that was when we actually got to see her in the flesh and, the interviews and stuff like that. But the thing that I always walked away from that, and then any subsequent interview of Debra Hill's that I saw, was that I feel like she had such a love and affinity for this series. And I feel like she was really proud of it. Yeah. And a lot more than Carpenter ever was, because obviously Carpenter loved doing the first one because it really got his foot in the door. But, it's public knowledge that after that, he really didn't want anything to do with it. And so it seemed like as the years went on, Carpenter almost would seem annoyed when he would like have to talk about it or get asked about it. Meanwhile, Debra Hill, it just seemed like, she was chomping at the bit to talk about Halloween. And I really appreciated that because, as a teenager myself, watching 25 Years of Terror, being fully in the throes of my nerddom with Halloween, because that's when it really all started. It was cool to like have a visual representation of me at this, like, oh yeah, this person that made it, that's like 3 times my age. She's like, oh, this is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not a weirdo. You guys are weirdos. Like, but yeah.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I think, it's one of those things where she was, having that producer role is a little bit different, right? So like John's coming at it from this creative role, and he's, always been a curmudgeon and everything like that. And sort of just like what's going to be the next thing. And I think sometimes when it comes to creative work, like the thing that the creator is least proud of sometimes is what fans love the most. And that you can sort of grow to resent that a little bit. But then with Debra's role, being a producer, you're wearing so many hats. You're making a lot of stuff happen in front of and behind the camera. So there's a lot to be proud of because you're really working your ass off. And I think she's, like you had said, with her writing the girl's dialogue, it's one of those things where she is so integral to making that piece work and making it something that stood the test of time. So when I think of Halloween, I think of, there's like 4 things that like really stick out. So there's the mask is absolutely perfect. So without the mask looking perfect, who knows if that film works? There's Dean Cundy's cinematography, because holy shit, the film just looks beautiful and puts it a cut above, multiple cuts above A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th when we're talking about those first films especially. And then you've got just the John Carpenter element of the music and what he, provided with the story. And I think the other piece there is Debra and her making it relatable with people that were at that age at that time. Now, certainly almost 50 years later, some people, I think one of the things people are most critical about is that contribution, or, that it seems to be a little slow, or the girl, the people will sort of casually rip on that dialogue a little bit. But I do think that it's supposed to, what I love about movies is when they immerse you and they just make you feel like you're experiencing something that feels real. And a lot of people out there, when they talk with their friends, don't necessarily sound super intelligent. So I'll take all the totallys you got. And yeah, I think Deborah is just one of, just such a big piece of making that film work. And then, of course, working with Carpenter on other films and, running her ass off and being a producer there as well. So I think that's where that nerdiness that Nick is talking about comes from. It's the pride in the work, because being a producer is tough stuff.
Yeah, I think that innocent dialogue too, it offsets the evil, and I think it makes the evil work even more, because it just makes you care about these innocent, young girls. And then here comes Michael Myers, pretty much the devil incarnate. So I think if you didn't have Debra Hill's dialogue in there, maybe that's why a lot of slasher movies don't work like Halloween does, because they don't capture that innocence as well as they capture the evil. Chris from a Movie Misfits video, he says, pretty cool that in Halloween 6 we have John Strode named after Carpenter and Deborah Strode named after Hill, and Bradford Hill passed away a couple months ago, which is crazy. So yeah, that's a good point.
Say what you want about Curse of Michael Myers, but that guy's performance is friggin' awesome. He's one of the biggest dicks in all of horror history, and great performance. And I got a soft spot for Curse. I'm one of those weirdos.
Oh, dude, me too, man. It's like, for a while there, I think it was in my top 3. It fluctuates, but I've always I've always
it's the most metal Halloween movie.
For sure.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and I think that's one reason why I like the theatrical cut so much, is because it has more of a metal soundtrack, whereas the producer's cut doesn't. So I'll take that any day.
I'm a producer's guy, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, you've talked about that before. And yeah, there are some people, they love the producer's cut, but I think that's cool, because I think both versions are different enough that it's believable that some people are going to fall in line more with the producer's cut. And I think the theatrical cut is a little bit on acid. So I can't, I can't fault you for, preferring the other cut. For sure.
Yeah, the producer's cut to me feels a little more like the original film, like it's going for that tone. It takes a little more time. It has more of the traditional music. There are those slow tracking shots of Kara walking around. There's just really good moments where I'm like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm watching the original film here for a minute. It's kind of nice.
I will say, since we're on Halloween 6 for a second, so when I saw that in the theater in 95, not knowing what the score was going to be, because 4 and 5 had still kind of a traditional type of score, little updated, but still pretty traditional. But man, when Myers is walking and you hear that almost like metal hitting metal, like did it, and then you like hit the guitar and everything. I was like, whoa, what is this?
Like the squealy guitar.
Like Michael's in the background, like shredding or something.
He's got the
Michael Wood.
Yeah, the whammy bar going.
Oh,
arguably one of the scariest Myers to date, I think. I mean, George P. Wilbur freaking brought it in that role.
Yeah, that shot of him walking in the hallway where he's sort of like got this sort of like I'm the king of the castle kind of thing walk going on. Love that shot. He might be a little big in that one. I kind of like the different look, and I think the mask is great. I don't know, it's one of my favorite masks until the David Gordon Green. Yeah.
Well, hello there. You just watched an outrageous clip from the Hit the Bricks podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more clips, you can click here or you can click here. And you can just have yourself a ball, all right? And also follow the Hit the Bricks podcast on Spotify as well. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.